Why are African fishermen relating harrowing stories of mythical creatures? Why are sightings of a supposed living dinosaur increasing in one of the most remote rainforests on Earth? And what is happening in the Congo that has scientists baffled as new life is breathed into a myth that dates back over 200 years? My friends, I think you're going to like this one. Deep in the Congo Basin, the second largest rainforest on the planet, locals have long told stories of a massive creature known as Mokele-Mbembe. It's said to resemble a long-necked dinosaur. For decades, reports were rare, but recently more people are claiming to have seen it again. So what's actually happening in the Congo right now? And is this the return of something ancient or something else entirely? And what exactly are people claiming to see? The name Mokele-Mbembe translates to one who stops the flow of rivers. Witnesses describe a massive body, a long neck rising from the water, and a powerful tail. Some compare it to an elephant, others to a hippo. But what transformed this from regional folklore into a global mystery was one comparison. Many said it looked like a sauropod dinosaur, and that comparison changed everything. The first Western report dates back to 1776, when a French missionary named Liévin Bonaventure Proyat described enormous clawed footprints nearly a metre wide in the Congo River region. The creature itself was never seen, but the tracks were enough to spark speculation. Then, in 1909, Lieutenant Paul Gratz documented stories of a similar creature known as the Nsanga near Lake Bangwolu. His account was one of the first to describe the animal as dinosaur-like. Around the same time, renowned German big game hunter Carl Hagenbeck wrote of hearing reports about a huge monster, half elephant, half dragon, living deep within African swamps. He even funded an expedition to find it. The expedition returned with nothing. But the idea stuck. By the mid-20th century, cryptozoologists were actively promoting the possibility that lost dinosaurs might still survive in remote jungles. In the 1980s, Dr. Roy Makal, a retired University of Chicago biologist, led expeditions into the vast Lekwala swamps of northern Congo. He once said that when he checked maps of the region, large portions were marked simply insufficient data to delineate terrain. To him, that was an invitation. It's the end of the world, he said. It gives you a feeling of a surviving prehistoric time. But despite multiple searches, no conclusive evidence was ever recovered. And that's important, because since the early 20th century, more than 50 expeditions have been conducted in search of Mokele-Mbembe. None have produced verified bones, DNA, carcasses, or clear photographic proof. And here's where it gets difficult. Zoologists who search for species thought to be extinct often find that if the animal truly exists, it tends to turn up after just a handful of searches, typically within 3 to 6 serious expeditions. After that, the probability of existence begins to drop significantly. So what does it mean when over 50 expeditions come up empty? That's the detail that makes scientists most sceptical. And yet, the sightings continue. Recent reports suggest that people in parts of the Congo Basin are encountering large, unidentified animals more frequently. The region spans over 1 million square miles of dense forest, winding rivers and swamp, much of it still difficult to access. Even today, new species are occasionally documented there. To believers, that matters. After all, history shows that some animals, once dismissed as myth, have turned out to be very real. Take the okapi. In the 19th century, explorers in the Congo spoke of an African unicorn. Henry Morton Stanley reported seeing a strange donkey-like creature deep in the forest. Western scientists were sceptical. It wasn't until 1901 that the okapi was properly documented and identified as a relative of the giraffe, or consider the platypus. When preserved specimens first arrived in Europe, naturalists believed they were elaborate hoaxes, stitched together from different animals. A mammal with a duckbill that laid eggs and produced venom. It seemed impossible. It took decades before zoologists accepted it as real. Even the Komodo dragon was once dismissed as exaggerated fishermen's tales of land crocodiles, until expeditions in the early 20th century brought back skins, photographs, and eventually live specimens. So history has surprised science before. But there's another side to that history. Stories of sea serpents once terrified sailors across the world. Many of those sightings were later attributed to rare deep-sea fish like the oarfish, creatures that can grow over 50 feet long and were not filmed alive until 2001. In other words, some legends become discoveries, others become explanations. And Mokele-Mbembe sits directly between these two. Because this isn't just a story about something that might exist, it's a story about something that should be impossible. A long-necked dinosaur surviving 66 million years of extinction, hidden in a rainforest. If that were true, it wouldn't just rewrite biology textbooks, it would force us to rethink extinction itself. But here's the part that refuses to go away. The sightings are rising again, not centuries ago, but right now. Villagers describe massive shapes moving through rivers at dusk, long necks breaking the surface, large animals vanishing into thick vegetation before they can be clearly seen. And the Congo Basin is still vast, still dense, still difficult to study in full. So the question lingers, what if something large really is out there? But this is where the mystery gets intriguing, because if a creature that size existed, it wouldn't just be rare, it would require a stable breeding population. Dozens, possibly hundreds, and animals that large leave evidence. They reshape ecosystems, they consume enormous amounts of vegetation, they die, they leave bones, they leave DNA in the water. And in an age of satellite imaging, environmental DNA sampling, and over 50 organised expeditions, there is still nothing conclusive. No remains, no verified carcass, no genetic trace, and that forces us into an interesting place. Either this is one of the greatest undiscovered species in modern history, or it's something else entirely. Maybe it's misidentified wildlife pushed into new territories. Maybe it's folklore, adapting to environmental change. Or maybe it's something we don't yet understand, because history has surprised us before. The okapi, the platypus, the Komodo dragon, all once doubted, all once dismissed, until they weren't. But those animals eventually left undeniable proof. And that's the difference. If something that large was truly moving through the Congo Basin, if a prehistoric survivor had somehow endured, we would expect to have found it by now. Right?